Hey guys, this is Will McGlynn Jr. It's Wednesday, March the 18th. It's my daddy's birthday, and it's time for another Will on Wednesday. And so, like I said, today is my dad's birthday, and so I want to dedicate this whole time with you guys to him. Just want to tell you a little bit about him. I made a Facebook post on Facebook this morning, you know, declaring his birthday and a lot of stuff that he has done and a lot of names that he goes by. It goes by William McGlynn Sr., aka our daddy, aka Sonny, aka Uncle Sonny, aka Bill to the people he used to work with, aka our mechanic, aka our chauffeur, aka our protector, our provider. He had a lot of AKAs, and but to me, he's always been daddy, and I love him. So I just wanted to dedicate this broadcast to him because a lot of times, and I've experienced this, and I know. Well, I haven't experienced. Well, yeah, I have experienced. I know it as a father. A lot of times, you feel like you're out doing stuff, you're working, you're providing for your family, and you're not really asking for applause, and you don't even know, or sometimes don't even care if people notice or acknowledge it. But I just want to acknowledge my dad today. So hopefully I don't cry because y'all know me. I can turn on the waterworks, involuntarily, of course. Um, but I just want to, dedicate to this to my dad. Just tell y'all a little bit about him, and why. Part of the reason why I am the man that I am today, uh, you know, because of him. And my dad was born in Kinston, North Carolina, and had really humble beginnings. And so once he became of age, he moved to Philadelphia, began working. That's when he, met my mom. And then after they got married, here comes me. So, he's been, I guess, had his hands full ever since day one with me. But my dad has always been consistent. That's one thing I can say about him. He's always been consistent. Um, you never have to guess what he's thinking because he's going to tell you whether you want to know or not sometimes. And, growing up, I didn't really know how to decipher that. I didn't know how to appreciate it. But, I appreciate it now because that's how I am. If something's on my mind or if I want to know something about somebody, I don't like to guess. I don't like to assume things about people. I'm going to ask them. And, whether they tell me the truth or not, at least I asked. And, I'm not assuming certain things about people. And if somebody wants to know something about me, good or bad, I'm going to tell you the truth. And, that's how my dad is. He's always told us, always been truthful about who he is. And, he's always shared his experiences growing up that shaped him. And, my experiences growing up with him has shaped me. I talked about a story on Facebook about, when he was teaching me how to drive a stick shift. And, we were in, we had this 74 Toyota Celica, bright red, I guess it was bright red at one time. By the time we got it, it was faded. It was a little orange with a little white top. Little sporty car. And it was 4-speed. And so I had just gotten my license, and my dad took me, he's like, come on, let's go we had to go downtown or go to somebody's house. Because my dad was always helping people. So I just assumed we were going to help somebody do something. So we were headed into town, Wilmington, North Carolina, on Market Street. And I think it's the intersection of Market and 17th Street. If you're from Wilmington, you know where I'm talking about. And we were going into town. And so it was rush hour traffic. My dad pulls up to the stoplight. We were the first car in line. And then he gets out the car, and I'm looking at him like, where is he going? And he comes around to my side, and he's like, get in the driver's seat. You're going to drive to wherever we're going. And I was like, I don't know how to drive a stick. He said, well, you're about to learn now. And so I got it, went around and got in. I was sweating bullets because it was I think in early April, because I had just gotten my license maybe 2 weeks prior. And so I got in, and he started telling me what to do. And back then, my dad, he yelled a lot. And I guess, because I was a little slow trying to learn stuff. But, and it wasn't like a bad yell. It's just the way I think, because he worked with machines all the time. And I didn't even realize that until really just now. He worked in a machine shop a lot. He worked on the railroad. There was a lot of noise, and I'm sure they had to yell at each other to communicate. And I'm just realizing that just now. Thank you, Lord, for even revealing that to me. How, he yelled a lot, or not yell, but he just talked loud. And me, everybody that knows me knows that I'm kind of quiet. I don't talk a lot. And just doing this Will on Wednesdays, it's a stretch for me. So, and even, when I'm at home with just me and my wife, she'll tell you I don't do a lot of talking unless I'm joking around or something. But even then, my voice has always been low and, to me, like low and methodical, I guess, for lack of a better term. And, so anyway, back to my dad. We got in, I got in the car, and, I didn't know what was what. It was 3 pedals on the floor. I was used to 2. And the clutch on that car wasn't the best to begin with, but I'm pretty sure it was burned out after I finished with it. But like I said, we were at the front of the line at the stoplight. Cars were piling up behind us, and the light turned green. He said, go. And I said, what am I supposed to do? He said, push the clutch. And I'm like, what's the clutch? He said, your left foot. So I pushed it down. They said, now ease up off of it and give it some gas. Put it in gear, ease up off, and give it some gas. And so I did it, and the car jerked forward. And of course, people behind me started blowing the horn, So I'm sweating bullets over here. And so he said, do it again. And so the cars we were in the middle lane, and the cars in the right lane, were going by us, blowing horns, people yelling at us or whatever. And so that made me sweat even more. And so when the next light came, I finally got it into first, and I started easing off and cut off right in the middle of the intersection. So I was like, oh Lord, I got to figure something out quick. So I did it again, and I got the car moving. And so I got it, first, second, third, fourth. I finally figured it out, because when it comes to driving, I'm a quick learner. So I figured it out. And while we were driving, of course, he was talking loud. He was like, you're going to have to learn how to do this right, because you never know if, no, he said, you're going to have to learn how to do this right, because one day you might have to know how to drive a stick to feed your family. And I said, well, first of all, I didn't say it like that, but I was like, well, I'm not going to get married. And so that means I'm not going to have kids. And that means I ain't never going to be driving for a living. So, something to that effect I said. And he was like, don't say what you ain't never going to do, I know it's not correct English, but that's how we talk. So he said, don't say what you're never going to do. So lo and behold, my first job when I got to Charlotte, after I dropped out of UNCC, was a delivery driver for an auto parts store. First question the manager, Rock, asked me, no, Daryl, the owner of the store, Daryl, I can't remember Daryl's last name. Anyway, Daryl asked me, "Do you know how to drive stick?" That was the first thing he asked. And when he said that, my mind flashed back when my dad said, "You never know. You might have to know how to drive stick to feed your family." So I'm like, okay, well, he was right about the stick part, but I still ain't getting married. And then a few months later, my wife comes along into my life, and then we got married 3 years later, and we got 3 kids. So, um, like I said, just a lesson: never say what you're not going to do. And my mom and my grandmother, Leona Wessett, uh, the late Leona Wessett, she used to tell me that all the time because whenever I got mad at my dad, I would go talk to my grandma. I wouldn't talk to my mama because I knew they were, my mom and dad were tight, so there wasn't no need. But my grandma, and anytime I talked to my grandmother, her advice would be never say what you're not going to do because you might end up doing it, So that's always stuck with me throughout my life. And that's another reason a lot of people ask me why I don't talk a lot, because I'm very careful about what I say. I choose my words wisely, and because I know words carry power, and so I'm very careful about what I say. But back to my dad, we got through the whole driving thing. Another memory that I have of him that I really hated at the time was when he was a mechanic. He was a diesel mechanic for the railroad, and he's really good at what he did. And so he was also pretty frugal. So we had some pretty decent cars coming up. I remember we had the first car. I remember was the Ford Galaxy 500. It was like a teal green 2-door. I love that car, man. I wish we still had it. And then we got a Dodge Dart, and then somebody hit the Dodge Dart, and we got a Dodge Swinger, which is pretty much the same thing. And then we got then we moved to, I think it was Clover Road when we moved to, in Wilmington, and then that's when he got the Celica, and then he bought a Mustang, and and this is how my dad was. He always, to me, he was always thinking ahead, and he knew there was a place, I think it was on Mercer Avenue in Wilmington. This guy had a whole bunch of Mustangs. He was restoring them back in the day, and so every time we go by, I would, oh, I like, that's my Mustang, blah, 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 So I think he, kind of figured that that's the kind of car I wanted. And he was already planning ahead to get me the car for my birthday when I turned 16. So we found a Mustang up in Brunswick County, and went up there and got it. And it was canary yellow, which made me want to puke. And so when he bought the car, he said, he drove it around for a while, and then he parked it. He said, so when you turn 16, you can have the car. And so I was like, well, I don't want no yellow car. Just like these ungrateful kids that you see on the movie, or not on the movies, on Reels. Their parents buy them a Honda Accord and they want a Mercedes. Yeah, I can relate. I was one of them kids. I was very materialistic. And, so anyway, he knew I didn't like the car yellow, so he got it painted black. That's the color I wanted. And so, when I turned 16, I got the keys to that car. And, my dad worked hard. A lot of times, I think I took that for granted. Because he worked outside at night on the railroad. And, there's a lot of things that could have gone wrong out there. A couple of times he had some run-ins with bears, snakes, crazy co-workers, because there was a lot of outright racism that was happening, but he never Hold on. Like I said, it was a lot going on his job that he could have complained about, and some of it he did. Some of it we heard about, but I'm pretty sure he kept a lot from us that he had to go through to keep a roof over our heads and to give us the things that we just had to have. And he went through a lot working on the railroad. And I just want to tell you, Dad, thank you. I know a lot of people have misunderstood you over the years, me included. But being a grown man now with children, I understand a lot better why you did some of the things you did, why you said some of the things you said, because you just wanted us to be better, to have a better experience than you did. And I really appreciate it. I appreciate it. And, I don't want to hold you guys long, but I see, a lot of people, people online and stuff that, don't appreciate, like, kids these days. A lot of times, and a lot of these reels that they feel like they're obligated or entitled to the things that their parents are doing for them. And I was probably one of those too, but not to the degree that some of the kids these days I see, because they on a whole different level. But I just wanted to take some time out to honor my dad on his birthday. Honor Will McGlynn Jr. on Wednesday, because he deserves it. He deserves every bit of it. I wish there was more I could do for him. And I think another one of the, this is probably going to be the last one. One of the things, fondest memories that I have is last year, my dad came and stayed with me and Kelly for about 2 weeks. Well, a week the first time, then he because my mom and sisters went to a convention or something down in Atlanta, so he came and stayed with us. And we actually had time to enjoy having him in the house. We got him his own chair for the patio, and let him watch the news all day, which I'll never understand, but that's what he likes to do. He's retired, he's worked, he's put his time in, and so he deserves, and I don't use that word a lot, that people deserve stuff, but he's worked hard, he deserves his leisure. And so, that's what one of the main reasons, or one of the main goals for that my wife and I, have come to an agreement on, that we really want to honor my mom and dad, because they have put in the work. They deserve to be treated well. Um, and especially these days, patriarchs don't get the honor that they should get. And I'm not going to get political or anything, but we need to honor the men in our lives that have put in the work, that have suffered, that have sacrificed, and some are still sacrificing, and that have been an example. And we need to honor them while they're still here. And that's what I want to do today. I want to honor my dad. Most of y'all may not even know him. I think if you go look at my wife and my other YouTube channel, Marriage with the McGlyns, you can see him and my mom on one of our broadcasts from last year. It was hilarious. Everybody loved it. But, I just want to honor him because he deserves it. Like I said, he's taught me how to be a leader of my family. He's taught me how to provide for my family. I still don't do it as well as he did. But I'm learning every day. And he taught me how to be a protector for my family. He taught me how to treat my wife. Taught me how to work on cars. That's the other thing I hated. Hated when it was going on, but I'm glad he did now, because he used to go out in the yard. Seems like either it was freezing cold or it was so hot, and the mosquitoes was looking for a free meal, and he'd come in the house or send one of my sisters in the house, or I could hear him hollering out there, "Junior, come out here and hold this flashlight." And I'd be like, oh my God, here we go. Because I knew we were going to be out there for a while. But now that I went through that, I know how to work on my own car, basic stuff. So, and I know what to look for when I take my car to a mechanic, and, they tell you need one thing and you don't really need it. So I'm grateful for all of that. And I will forever be grateful. And I love your dad. Hopefully y'all didn't find this boring, because I had to do this. I want to leave that legacy and let people know how much I love my dad. And, because he deserves it. So next week, I'm going to try not to cry, because I'll be talking about something else. But I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. And, this is Will McGlynn Jr. Or as a lot of people might say, Will McGlynn who? But hey, Will McGlynn Jr., Will on Wednesdays. And I'll see you next week.